Welcome to the Celebrating Women podcast, co-hosted by Mandee Montana and Ashley Fisher, a podcast that celebrates women, their issues, their thoughts, their lives, conversations that celebrate their gifts, their talents, their courage. It's the Celebrating Women podcast. Presented by Hand & Stone Massage and Facial Spa in Tyler, Texas. Hey there, it's Mandee Montana. Are you taking great care of your skin? You know, I use great products, I take my vitamins, and I drink plenty of water. But I could be better about applying sunscreen daily and making sure my skin is protected against premature aging. What about you? I've got great news, though. I do have a solution. It's called the Diamond Glow Treatment at Hand & Stone Massage and Facial Spa in Tyler. I love it. It exfoliates and hydrates your skin at the same time. I know my skin feels so soft and silky after. You have got to try it. If you've never had a facial before, they do offer different options at Hand & Stone, like hydrating and brightening. If you're struggling, though, with dark spots, hyperpigmentation, sun damage, sallow skin, enlarged pores, maybe oily skin, this is the treatment for you. If you want your skin to glow and look and feel amazing, you've got to try the Diamond Glow. Located in Cumberland Shopping Center, schedule your appointment today. Visit handandstonetyler.com. That's handandstonetyler.com.
Welcome back to the Celebrating Women podcast. I am Ashley Fisher.
I'm Mandee Montana.
And it's just Mandee and I this morning with our individual go juices.
I've got water this morning.
Ooh.
No, I've already had coffee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been up since 5:30. So
5:30. Yeah. Well, we are taking on a really interesting topic that Mandee brought to my attention recently. And I was like, oh man, like it's so good and so relevant to us all. But I feel like especially women. Mm-hmm. And that is mental load.
Yeah.
And
decision fatigue and mental load.
Yes. And yes. And because I don't know if y'all are aware of this or not, but like in a given day, the amount of decisions that you have to make just by breathing in and out and being a presence on this earth is at times daunting. Mm-hmm. And that like contributes to this thing called mental load, and which can contribute to a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. So Mandee,
stress primarily, right? Like,
yeah,
you don't necessarily think about it until you have an awareness, and then you're like, oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. But I think we talk about, we don't carry physical labor the way our ancestors did. Like our work is not in the fields so much. Some people have really physical jobs, but a lot of us are working more with our minds.
Yep.
And so on top of that, we're also stimulated a lot by our devices and interactions with other people. And so the stress level that we take on now is not so much a physical stress that's wearing out our bodies, but it's a mental stress that's wearing out our minds and our bodies.
Yeah. As my eye is like literally twitching.
Thinking about it.
Like it's literally twitching, and it has been for like a couple of weeks now. So I thought it would be interesting just to read the definition of mental load, because I don't think we always stop to think about what's my mental load right now. You know, we just do what we need to do. Mental load is the cognitive effort involved in managing your work, relationships, a family, and a household. Mental load is the whole bundle of details you manage throughout the day. It has to do with your responsibilities, formal or not, as well as the decisions you have to make. So it's just all the things. And so I like
literally all the things.
All the things. Just all the things. So knowing that we were going to talk about this, and knowing just how at times mentally exhausted I can feel. Mm-hmm. And when we get to that place, I think because of this rat race that we're in our society, it's like, gosh, what's wrong with me? Mm-hmm. Absolutely nothing. You just have, you're tired. You have been making so many decisions throughout your everyday, and your mental load is so much.
Yeah.
And I read this morning, like your brain can really only really well focus on 3 to 4 things. And then if it goes beyond that, then your mental load starts to surpass your brain's capacity to deal with those things. And so that's when you start yelling at your kids. That's when you start like somebody asks you a simple question, you're like,
you snap or you freeze.
Yeah. And it's just too much. Well, it's a biological thing. Like you're not supposed to have.
This explains so much because I feel like in my world, I do a few different things that actually spider out into a lot of different things. My manicurist jokes and says Mandee and her 8,000 jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is that way. And so it's like throughout the day, I'm shifting gears. I'm shifting thoughts so much. I didn't realize, I did realize that it was stressful and hard on me, but I didn't know there was a term for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it just, again, anytime you have a name for something, it's like, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. I have so much going on. Like, of course I'm exhausted. Like, of course I feel this way, you know? And the reading I was doing, that what you're talking about is code switching.
Yes.
The energy it takes to code switch all the time, which if you're a woman, you most likely have many, many hats that you wear. And friend, daughter, sister, wife, mom, coworker, employer. The list can go on. And when you have to code switch all day long, unless you're doing things to submit to like your health and you're like replenishing, it's just gonna wear you out.
Yeah, this is why I've talked about in previous episodes why rest is so important and self-care is so important, is because we are doing that. We are literally code switching all day long. Most of us. Yeah. So you made a list this morning of all the different decisions you made. Is that right?
So I just thought when I got up here this morning, I had a few minutes. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to write down all the things that I can remember thinking about before I got up out of bed.
Before you got out of bed.
Before my feet hit the floor this morning.
This is going to be great. Yeah.
Okay. All right. This was after my daughter woke me up right before my alarm went off. So, hands on the face. Mom, I want to watch a show. Okay, just go. And then my brain starts going. All right. Okay. Ashley's brain turns on and Sean was up late editing that reel. We need to finish editing the episode for tomorrow. It's an important one. Charlie's coughing. Need to give her meds. Does Bradley need to be awake now? Charlie wants to watch a show. I need to make breakfast. I need to get dressed first. Makeup, then I'll do my hair. It's day 3. I guess I can go one more day without a wash. Have to be a little more put together today for that Zoom. Oh, I need to make sure I've got that right time since we're in different time zones. I need to post again about upcoming mini sessions. I think I'm supposed to start my period soon. No need to take a pregnancy test. Bradley had a vasectomy. Are the boys awake? I need to make lunches. What are the kids going to wear today? What am I going to wear today? I need to let the dog out.
Before your feet hit the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I go to bed now?
Sure. But it sounds like you've got a lot to do today, so maybe not.
But, and I'll tell you, y'all, honestly, do this,
just to get an awareness.
Because when I'm looking at this, that takes up...
Oh, yeah, that's your entire phone screen on your notepad.
The entire screen on my notepad.
Wow.
And I'm going, that's a lot of crap to think about before you even get out of bed, And it's none of it's bad.
My heart's racing for you over here. I'm getting anxiety. No, it's nothing bad. No, none of those things were bad things. In fact, there's a lot of really good things on that list. But yeah, our brains are just on and running right from the start.
Yeah. And then y'all know, as soon as your feet hit the floor,
even more decisions.
Even more. That's
compounded.
Just the halfway conscious thoughts.
Oh my gosh.
But I think doing that, I really do. I encourage y'all to sit down and make that list for yourself because it's going to give you an insight to, dang, okay, maybe where can I give myself some rest? Where can I implement some things to take away from that load, especially if it's, today, all of that, y'all may think I'm crazy, but today's a great day. I feel good. I don't feel overloaded or overwhelmed yet. But there are days when I do. There are lots of days when I do. And I think that especially for those of us that have partners, this is where it becomes really important to be transparent with your partner.
Yes.
And sharing the mental load because if you have been with someone for any amount of time or married for any amount of time, you probably have felt the frustration of, oh my gosh, like, I cannot believe he is asking me to do this. Does he not know that I've had all this going on? Well, no, probably not. Like, yeah, he knows physically, like Bradley knows I'm at the studio today. Does he know that I had all of those thoughts this morning and that that's part of like what's my daily? No. And so it's my responsibility to be like, hey, babe, I would really love if you have a minute. I want to like share with you like what it looks like in my brain.
Because men don't think like that. If they tell you they're thinking about nothing, they really are probably thinking about nothing. I don't think that exists for us.
It's not a gift that God gave women.
No, I think it's why it's so hard for some of us when we try to practice mindfulness or meditate. Like, they tell you to let that thought like sit on a cloud and float away. And sometimes it does, but oftentimes there's another thought that's right after.
Because instantly I'm like, well, what kind of cloud is that? Is it a cute? I don't even know what types of clouds there are. I used to know that when I was a kid. Now, some of that may be ADD, but yeah, but
still,
yeah,
it's there.
Yes.
Like you're fighting it, you're dealing with it, and you're trying to relax.
Yeah, and yeah,
right? It's so challenging. So I stumbled across this randomly on Instagram. I want to give this guy credit. His account is Real Zach Think Share, Zach CH, and the reason I stumbled across it is he did this really cute reel with Kristen Bell, where she was kind of listing off all the things. He asked her to go to brunch, and she said, "Okay, great. That sounds wonderful." And he says, "Where do you want to go?" And she's like, "I really would appreciate it if you would make this decision for me. Like, you pick." And he's like, "No, Kristen, I want you to like have a great experience. Like, I want you to go where you want to go. You choose the restaurant." And then she lists the like 47 things she's had to think about that day.
Yeah.
She's like, "I just don't care. I just want to eat." And he finally says something like, "Let's go get chicken and waffles with mimosas." And she's like,
hell yeah.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for making that decision for me. But it's a real experience that most of us go through.
Yep.
And I think oftentimes our partners or spouses, they lack that awareness. And so this guy, what he's trying to do with his Instagram is bring some awareness. He calls himself a recovering man-child.
That's hysterical and very self-aware.
It is very self-aware. And he shows like ways that he's messed up with his wife, and then ways where he is learning like how to contribute. I think the thing that I remember the most is he did this reel where he plays both characters in the reel. So he'll play his wife and he'll pull his hair back like in a tiny pony and put glasses on, and then he'll take his hair down and be himself. Goes back and forth. But where his wife character says, you know, "Hey, will you help me clean up the house?" And he's like, "Yeah, babe, sure. Make me a list." And she's like, "Why do I have to make you a list? You're an adult. Can you not look around and see all of the things that need to be done?" No, but if they lack an awareness of that, and you don't have a conversation with, "Hey, look, I'm in the middle of doing this. I really need you to take this load off of me. I don't need to make you a list."
Because that's just adding more.
It's adding more mental load and more decision fatigue to the woman.
Yeah.
When the man's maybe playing a video game or, you know, looking at his phone or doing something really passive. They just don't, a lot of times they just don't know. I'm not trying to pick on men.
Right.
But if we don't talk to them about it, if we don't communicate it, they will never know. And so I really, like, I started just getting obsessed with this account, and I started watching like all these reels that he did. And I watched one where he was, with another creator, he was going back and forth, and he was kind of commenting on what she was saying. And so I stumbled on one of hers yesterday, and it was talking about having an equal partner. And I just want to like share some of the blurbs that she shared in this video. It was like a minute long. She was like, "I have an equal partner. He knows how to shop at the grocery store without pictures. I have an equal partner. He doesn't expect me to handle everything alone. I have an equal partner. He plans date nights without me having to beg for it. I have an equal partner. He does his own laundry. I have an equal partner. He makes his own appointments. I have an equal partner. My stocking has never been empty at Christmas.
Oh.
I have an equal partner. He makes the kids lunches in the morning. I have an equal partner. He makes and takes their son to his therapy appointments." I mean, like things like that, you know, and I'm watching her and I'm going, okay, he does that. He does not do that. He sometimes does that. You know, like I will say I will brag on my husband on a couple of things. He does do his own laundry.
Good job, Aaron.
He does do his own laundry. He also loves to shop. So he will go to the grocery store.
That's awesome.
And if I give him like a few things that I want, he will take care of the rest, especially like household goods like toilet paper, paper towels, trash bags, laundry detergent. For some reason, this man loves to buy those things. He will go to Sam's and he will sometimes call me and be like, hey, will you double check and see if we have trash bags I didn't look before I left the house?
That's awesome. There was a list that I came across of like ways to manage mental load.
Oh, good.
The first thing was you delegate.
Okay.
So like within a marriage, you can delegate to one another, or in a job, you delegate to those workers. Just delegate, which with that is going to come one of the other things, which is you're going to have to give up some sense of control.
Oh, yeah.
Which is hard for a lot of us.
Yes.
Connect with others, divide and decide, let go of control, ask for help, list out all of your tasks, or like write it down.
That does make such a difference.
And then prioritize what needs to happen, what's the most important. Reduce your expectations just a little bit, you know. Like if you're going to have a dinner party and you are stressed to the max because the house is a absolute wreck, ask for some help and realize that he may not clean
The way you would?
Yeah. And that's hard. That's so hard.
Oh, it is. Oh, it is.
And then really importantly, you've got to set boundaries, because I think we can all say yes, 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 yes to our detriment. And sometimes we have to like peel back and go, you know what? I've said yes. I've given my yes away a little bit too much. I am going to not. I'm gonna renege a little bit on some of this, and I'm going to take some things off of my plate.
And I think at different times in our life, we're able to say yes more than others. I'm thinking back to our episode with Sammy, my friend that does Gypsy Glow spray tanning. I was editing that some this morning, and I remember her talking about like she did 4 or 5 different things, was hustling all over the place when she was in her 20s. And now that she's in her 30s, she's really focused on just doing spray tanning. And she's like, I was tired, you know, and I can totally relate to that, because when I was in my 20s, I was also working like probably 80-hour weeks pretty consistently, saying yes to everything because I was trying to establish myself in the community. And I knew that if I could do that, it would pay off later. Well, now I can't say yes to everyone. There are times when I really want to, but I'm learning like also my body's changing. Like I physically, hormonally cannot say yes to everything. And it's that adds a different kind of mental load, because it's like, okay, where will I prioritize?
A really good book that I read years ago, I don't even think I finished it, but it was really good, was Lisa Turker's My Best Yes, something like that. And she gives really clear like boundaries on when it's good, when it's fine to give your yes, and when it's not. And I think really it was just like you go through physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. If any one of those 4, if this would take more than it would give, and I'm not quoting this really well, then you might need to give your no and not your yes. And it was just really good, because I think women especially, we want to be there for everything. We want to help in any way we can. And our heart really is to give and to say yes, but we do that sometimes to our detriment, you know, and we've got to, it's okay, give ourselves permission to say, thank you so much for asking for that opportunity. I just can't right now.
Yes.
But remember me in the future.
Yes. I've been learning that phrase, and I really love that phrase, that thanking them for asking.
Yeah.
You know, because it's often a compliment.
Absolutely.
That they see something in you that they appreciate and want you to be a part of whatever they're doing. And also, we can't necessarily do everything. I was talking with a friend recently, and I gave away my services so often in my 20s. I donated my time as a mobile DJ for.
And it's not tax deductible either.
No, it's not. It's a really tricky thing. Like you have to have like some kind of contract for it to be tax deductible. And I learned the hard way because I did it for UT Tyler for a while. If you're not an approved vendor,
yes,
then they won't do that for you. And becoming an approved vendor is a bit of a process. And I love UT Tyler. I'm not, that's not a negative.
That's with anybody. Yeah.
It's with a lot of places. And so it really was tricky because I was just sort of doing it, I don't know, through a separate organization, through a nonprofit that was affiliated with them at the time. So it was just one of those things where I learned later, like, this is good exposure, but again, is it my best? Yes. Is it actually tiring me out? Is the return on investment of my time?
Yes.
And my energy and my stress level, my mental load, all those things, is that return on investment enough that I want to say yes every time?
Yeah. And I mean, same with when I got started in photography. I mean, I gave away a ton of my first shoots because that's what you do to get started, to learn. But then you get to the point where you don't do that anymore. Okay. Can we talk a little bit? Can we go back a little bit
of course.
to the equal partner thing?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I'm going to step on some toes.
Uh-oh.
Maybe. I am just so interested in this concept of equal partners, given I feel like where we live and the kind of old
the
Southern,
culture of where we live,
yes,
and what our spouses and friends were probably brought up with, and shown,
and expectations, and what that can look like when, maybe you and your husband have ideas of how to go about life, but the in-laws are looking at you sideways like, why are you not cooking dinner every night for him? That kind of thing. And it was so interesting this last Sunday. We were sitting in church and they were doing a sermon about marriage.
Okay.
So, I'm like, okay, here we go.
Yeah. Valentine's Day had just been the Wednesday before, so this
why not? Right?
Yeah.
But I will tell you, I walked out of there jaw to the floor because in a great way, in such a good way, because when it got to some of these verses that we hear a lot in regards to marriage, he stopped in the middle, and his main point was the worst kind of love is two masters in love. The best kind of love is two servants in love, which was really sweet. But he was like, all right, I know y'all are wondering, this is not what this sermon is about, but here, I'll give you this little bit. When it talks about, the woman like respecting and honoring her husband and the husband giving everything for his wife. He said, I know some of you want to know, well, does that mean that the husband should be bringing home the bacon and paying all the bills and the wife should be home vacuuming and all this? And he said, no, it doesn't say that. He said, if you have two people who are seeking to serve one another, y'all can figure that out. And I was like, what? Because
seeking to serve one another.
Yes. But I never, ever had I ever heard anybody from a pulpit say, or even poke at that whole, like, basically saying, like, if y'all decide between the two of you that she's going to pay the bills and that and then he's going to do the dishes, that's okay. And I feel that and have felt that my whole life, but I've always come up against this mindset from other people.
Dare I say patriarchy?
I mean,
I'm sorry. I get on a soapbox about it because I think it's, especially here, there's such a lack of awareness of it. I was so unaware of it for so long, and I didn't really understand the concept. Even though I had been exposed to it, I didn't truly understand the concept until I watched the Barbie movie. And then it was so funny. Yeah. And it was done so well and so lighthearted and playful that I was like, oh my gosh, this finally is clicking. And this is what we've all existed in for so long. So it's what we know. So it's just how we operate.
Yeah.
And we can choose to do things a little bit differently. It doesn't mean that we don't need to see men in leadership. I think there are exceptional. I mean, obviously, there's exceptional men in leadership.
Yeah.
And I would like to see a few more women. Yeah. Just for a different perspective, if nothing else.
Well, because we all bring something to the table. But, bringing this back around to, sharing that mental load, I know there's portions of our listeners who would go, oh no, but it's my responsibility to take care of the children. Sorry, I'm giving that real Southern accent, but it's my responsibility to take care of the kids, to make sure the house is clean, to do all of this. And really and truly, at the end of the day,
you're both adults.
You are. And if you're in a dynamic where you're married, you have children, and you're each working, like if you're letting, all right, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead with it. If you are allowing your husband to, quote unquote, just go to work and come home, and that's the end of his load, you are not being fair to you. And you're not being fair to him. Like if he has no responsibilities when it comes to the kids and no responsibilities when it comes to the house other than taking a bag of trash from the kitchen to the garbage can outside, no ma'am. Nope.
It's just going to create problems later.
That's the thing.
It's going to create resentment and bitterness, and those things are sometimes impossible to come back from. And honestly, he probably would want to have more time with the kids. He maybe just doesn't know what that looks like.
Yeah.
Because he's probably never been shown that.
Exactly.
Right? When you come back to culture and how we were raised. I think about that with my husband a lot. Now, I'm learning that he wasn't shown to do the things that maybe I expect or want him to do.
Yeah.
And so, or what he was shown by his mom is what he expects me to do.
Right.
And so we've been together 12 years and I'm just figuring this out now, but I am figuring out, like, I have to communicate with him. Okay, this is a different expectation or boundary that we've got to work through. Like we need to shift this a little bit, and I'm comfortable with compromise, but if we can't communicate, we can't compromise.
Yeah. And I think too, and this kind of goes back to what we talked about with imposter syndrome. You've got to own all of the things that you are shouldering before you can have this conversation. Because for the longest time, Mandee, really just in the last year, I have allowed myself to say, of course, my kids are in school now, but throughout the whole time of kids being at home, I said I was a stay-at-home mom. No, I was not.
No, you were also a photographer, like an entrepreneur, a business owner.
Stay-at-home working mom, and that is a whole other booger.
Yeah, it really is.
It really is. But not owning that for 8 years caused me to take on more responsibility than I had the capacity for.
Yeah.
So not only was it 3 kids with their varying needs, but it was my husband and his needs, and then it was my business and its needs, and then it was the household and all of that. It's too much.
Ashley's needs.
Yes.
You didn't list that part.
Oh dang. Yeah, I know.
But that's the thing.
And that's what happened. My needs went to the wayside.
Right.
Which is not okay. It's just not okay. And this isn't us like coming up against the husband. This starts with us. It starts with being self-aware, and it starts with owning the things that we are shouldering. And I appreciated my sweet husband here recently. He said, "Hey, what would be like really helpful to you? Like as far as house stuff goes, what would be really helpful?" And I said, because he had really been making like extra efforts to like help with laundry, because we are always swimming in laundry.
Oh, I can't imagine.
Always.
We're swimming in laundry and it's 2 adults.
It's just never ending.
Yeah.
And we're also trying not to eat out as much. We're trying to cook at home as much as possible. I said, if you can do the dishes, like unload the dishwasher, load it, get the sink cleaned out in the evenings, that really goes so far for me.
That is massive.
We all have those times in our marriage where we realize, oh man, one of us, be it him or her, has been shouldering a little bit more. And sometimes in marriage, there are seasons where that is necessary. If somebody is ill, or if somebody is just down, or somebody and that's what marriage is about. But when it comes to this place of realizing that the culture of your marriage is not equal, you have permission to speak up and to say, hey, I mean, I could just really, and what was so funny is like with the dishes, him doing that, and I didn't know it at the time, but it took such a chunk off of my mental load that I realized I found myself, as we're getting into this rhythm, I found myself making the bed in the morning. Because when I'm faced with, oh, I've got to do the dishes. Oh, I got to do the laundry. Oh, I need to make the bed. It's immobilizing.
It's that code switching thing, but it's just within the household,
yes,
right?
And that's just the one piece of the pie.
Teeny tiny part of
the house, you know?
Yeah.
But knowing, oh, he's in this with me is so fueling and so energizing that, like, y'all, I have, in our 13 years of marriage, I have not made our bed regularly at all. But, like, I found myself, I've got this mental energy now to, like, make the bed and to do this and do that. And I think having somebody come in there and share that mental load with you and kind of kind of just showing you too, like, hey, we're in this together. I mean, that's just everything. Kudos, Bradley Fisher.
Yes. And not to harp on this, but when you are eating at home a lot, which I do, I eat at home a lot. Because I worked from home for so long, and then I really have been consciously, like, watching my nutrition and stuff. So it's much easier to, like, track things. If you're food logging, like I was doing, you know, for the last couple of months, it's much easier to log it if you're making it at home, because you can put in every little piece, right?
Yeah.
So for like 12 weeks or so, I was eating the majority of my meals at home. And that means I'm constantly doing dishes. I have dish fatigue.
Yes.
Like, I really do. It wears on me, because it's like every time I make something, I got to clean it up. And I'm the type of person that if I am making the air fryer salmon and I've got 8 minutes, the salmon's in there, I'm going to clean some things while that's cooking so that I don't have to do it after.
Yeah, I can't enjoy a meal if it's messy in there. I'm cleaning as I'm going.
Yeah, I almost always clean as I go.
The little bit of reading that I did about this decision fatigue and mental load, when the load becomes more than your brain's capacity to process and to deal with, it leads to some pretty negative stuff.
Okay.
Stress, anxiety, but relationally, it can lead to distance and bitterness.
Yeah.
And that's not an indictment on the person that you're needing to talk to. It's just life. Like, things get out of whack and out of balance, and it's like, do a little checkup, you know. And here's the thing: if you're gonna have that conversation, you're gonna have to be willing to hear from them about you.
Yes.
Which can be hard, especially if you feel like you are toting more of the load. You know, that's hard. But that's why you gotta, you know, plan those conversations for not in the moment when you're red hot mad or frustrated or, you know, whatever. But
I'm so glad you looked into this a bit more, because I kind of came at it just with stories, but I love that you took the time to, like, actually go read an article about it and have some help for it, because I needed it. Like, I needed to know. So I think I remember you saying, just to kind of wrap it up, making a list really helps.
Make a list.
So you have the awareness, the priorities.
And then you've got to delegate. Kind of release a little bit of expectation. You're going to have to let go of some control, communicate, and then set boundaries. Things that can come off of that plate, take it off. Awesome.
Well, cheers to us reducing our mental load and decision fatigue. I can't even say it. I'm so...
Decision fatigue.
The Celebrating Women podcast wants to hear from you. Email us a voice message to celebratingwomenpodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear your story or the story of an incredible woman you know. Become part of the conversation on social media. Facebook.com/celebratingwomenpodcast. On Instagram, search Celebrating Women Podcast. The Celebrating Women podcast has been presented by Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa in Tyler, Texas. Book your appointment today. Stop by the spa in Cumberland Shopping Center or online at handandstonetyler.com. The Celebrating Women podcast is created and hosted by Mandee Montana and Ashley Fisher. Support the show for as little as $3 per month at celebratingwomenpodcast.buzzsprout.com or visit our show notes. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe to the Celebrating Women podcast.